¿Qué pasa? ¿Cómo son, amigo? ¿Cómo estamos?
Es para ustedes, por favor.
¿Qué pasa contigo?
Es para ti.
Es para mí.
Para el señor.
Sí.
Sí.
¿Andas? Ya por... Estás así. Ya, vienes flotando. Algo te trae aquí flotando.
Vengo con la pura reserva.
Me queda claro. ¿Quieres cenar? ¿Dónde quieres? De afuera hacia abajo. Muy diferente, véanlo.
I've got a Sharpie.
When you go down there, look in the windows, the desk in front of the windows, and the cups for copper Sharpie or a silver Sharpie.
Thank you. Oh, you're so welcome. How you doing, House? Yes, ma'am. I'm about to bring up my next competitor. Oh, this aircon is nice. Oh. Oh. Willie, did you eat? Okay. Okay. Great, you can help her. Good timing. The sinks don't work. There is a bus tub. Or a dump bucket rather, down there.
Yep.
Start your time. And he's here. Yeah. Take a breath. He's here to help you with anything you need during that time. Okay. Can you clean up a little bit? Dump the spit cups. This is my bag coat, but maybe take the coffee and that away, and then there's a drink that's done. Just
Do you have more than 6 judges?
no.
Okay, it's another judge after.
There's an extra plate, is there not?
There's not downstairs, but we have enough food to make one. So.
Do you? Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much. That's because it looks so good. I think that's why.
Right.
Thank you. That is Kate's.
Yeah. For cheese. We're going to read the sign at bottom. 9 minutes? Yes.
here. There's some judge participation, so.
Question?
Got just a little over 2 minutes, guys.
Do you want this returned to you?
Really? Yeah.
Does it say take
It doesn't say. I just remember because it came in a great box, but it's very, very subtle. I love it. It's got a good weight to it too.
really heavy base on it?
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah.
Are you ready?
I am a flower.
I'm ready.
I'll get my Diet Coke out of the shop. Bush League, Rhea. Bush League. Do you want a 5 minute or 2 minute, 1 minute warning, anything like that?
Yes, please.
All of them.
5 and 2.
5 and 2. Kristen's got you. All right. Fun.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you again. I'm Becca.
Hi, Penny.
Nice to meet you. Nice to see you again. Oh, sorry. It's okay. Your hand. So I'm going to start you guys off with a little bit of audience participation. This is your menu in front of you. You're sharing it. And what I'd like to have you do is you choose one of the 3 titles and move it over here, and then between 3 and 4 of these lines, and you're going to make your own found poem. And I'll kind of explain why this is what we're doing as you guys work, and it shouldn't. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was a creative writing, well, one of my majors in college was creative writing, and my concentration was poetry. And one of my concentrations within my concentration was this discussion that's happening within the literary world right now of how we keep the literary word relevant in an increasingly digital world. Particularly because of the internet, we are getting very used to absorbing vast amounts of information in a very short amount of time in short spurts. And when working with poetry, that's something that you're supposed to kind of go about a little bit more slowly, deconstruct, put back together. So the question kind of has become for a lot of writers, how do we use the digital world as a valuable medium rather than something that could possibly outdate us? So one way that a lot of modern authors are doing this, examples being Annie Dillard, Sweet But Ready, wonderful poets, is breathing a new life into the genre of found poetry. You guys might remember maybe in high school your teacher giving you a stack of magazines and telling you to cut out words and create a word collage. It's a very basic version of found poetry. But now it's being brought into the digital world using particularly internet texts. There's a whole club at Stanford dedicated to creating found poetry out of computer data, really figuring out how to use the internet in order to create literature. So I'm taking that idea today and applying it to cocktails. What I've done is I took all of the text from the Bullet Frontier website, ran it through a random word generator about 3 times. It output a lot of different lines, and I chose my favorite ones from it. And then I created ingredients, and each line corresponds to an ingredient. So this idea of deconstruction, the idea is I'm taking all the tasting notes of the Bullet whiskey products, pulling them out and making them individual ingredients. So ideally in the right hands, no matter how they're combined, we'll come out with a balanced, delicious cocktail. So based on what you guys have essentially just decided what the cocktail will have in it. So culture received is going to be Bullet Rye. That's your title. We flavor and color amber with strength. That is going to be maple bitters. Urban Satiny with life experience. It's toffee washed sweet vermouth. Artist Chard is an allspice infused with Verna. And then with this giving light is a honey orange cordial. Back. Right, based on what we have here. So of course Bullet Rye is going to be our base. That is great for me because Bullet Rye is probably my favorite Bullet product. So I'll start with the allspice and Verna. I wanted to use a supporting spirit that had a lot of some supporting tasting notes to the Bullet. The Verna has a lot of baking spice notes to it. And then also, so I wanted to capture the baking spice notes of the whiskey in the deconstruction, but also get kind of that spice element that you get at the end of the rye. The Urban Satiny with Life is a toffee wash vermouth. I literally made a toffee, blended it with the vermouth, and fine strained it over a long period of time. So it's a vermouth with that kind of toffee flavor. I'm sure you guys are familiar with Bullet and how one of the primary tasting notes of all of their whiskeys is a toffee finish. So I wanted to bring that in also with the fact that if we're talking about perfect modifiers for whiskey, sweet vermouth is going to always come into play. What this giving light is a honey orange cordial. I wanted to touch on the honey notes that you can really get from the barrel of Bullet whiskey, but also the citrus notes you get on the nose of the rye. So I combine that into one ingredient, and that'll give a little bit of a citrusy kick to the cocktail. And then finally, talking about bourbon, particularly Bullet bourbon, maple. I made bitters with maple syrup as the sweetener in it. You particularly got a little hint. It's reminiscent of the barrel and the smell of it in the whiskey. Stir this up and give it a taste to make sure it's what we want it to be. So that's creating as we go. Creating a bunch of different ingredients that weren't all too sweet. Used different syrups was the biggest challenge of making all these complementary ingredients, but I think I managed to figure it out in the end. for that. That's okay. A little more dilution doesn't hurt when we're drinking it right away. Need to get all inclusive with the garnish because I didn't know what you guys were going to select. All right, so I present to you your cocktail, the culture received. We flavor and color amber with strength, bourbon satiny with life experience, artist charged with this giving light. Awesome. All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
How did you make the watch?
So I took orange juice and I blended it with honey and citric acid, so it stays preserved. I give it that little extra. This orange juice is quite sweet when you add enough sugar to it, and add a little bit of sugar for thickening.
What was the technically most difficult ingredient?
The most technically difficult was probably the toffee wash remove when it comes to sheer time, because I had to actually make the physical coffee first, which I've made caramel before, but making the heart, making sure that it doesn't stick to the pan, and then blending it, making sure it's freezing in time. That was probably the most technically difficult.
Cool. I have a question. It's more of a comment. I like how you took something that's like a Final Frontier boundary technology and then brought it back to something that's still you were like use a generator to
It's cutting edge.
pop these.
It's
Yeah.
analog.
It's like like analog, bringing the technology. It's a new frontier of writing, and my other passion besides bartending. So that's what I wanted to touch on.
Do you still actively write?
I do, though, of course, the time with the full-time bartending, a little bit less, but I do pretty much constantly. And this has definitely helped re-inspire me. It was really fun.
Sweet. Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much.
Awesome.
Oh, by the way, I also do have cordial glasses if you guys wanted to taste any of the ingredients on their own.
Yeah, I would love
Something
to.
worth, sure.
Yeah.
So we'll just put all of your stuff back into here. Dump into here, please. The sinks don't work.
Oh, sorry, I think I dumped ice.
It's inevitable. Everybody does it, even if I say not to.
This was just water.
That's okay. No big deal. And then is this yours as well?
Yes.
Okay, cool. We can leave all that bullet here.
So what is in the Crisp bowl? Or the
So this is a stone soda. I'm calling stone soda. So that was inspired by the filtration of the bullet through limestone. So I made essentially my own mineral water by boiling limestone and slate in water for about 4 or 5 hours, fine straining it through a coffee filter again, and then carbonating it. It's very surprisingly refreshing.
What was
There's the spice syrup, so nutmeg, coriander, allspice, a little bit of red sugar. Yeah. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
It should be in there now. Take that and then we'll wipe the bar real quick. You got a bar rack on you?
And there's cold draft here already? Or?
It's coming fresh for you. Yeah, listen, the sinks don't work. Please don't dump into them. The cold draft's gonna be here in a bathtub. Here's your cutting board. I'll put it here for you.
Yeah.
It'll be here in 2 minutes, fresh. Starting your time right now. It's looking a little droopy.
Okay.
What do you need? Thank you. All right, cold draft coming in for you.
Thank you.
Brand new. Let's make sure we have an ice scoopy too. I see it.
Oh, right.
It's just chef for during competition, so it stays hot. Yeah. And this bullet's out here on purpose, right? Right, good. Good, good, good.
All intentional. I'm on deck right now, right?
You're
Oh.
you're doing your prep time. Yeah, you're in your prep time. You have 7 minutes left.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, this isn't your challenge time. Prep time.
Just have to pee.
You have to pee.
Kind of. Like a lot.
Either you'll have some time left or we'll pause for a minute so you can pee. That's what I think. Yeah. Here, go. Do you want to go pee right now? I'll stop your time.
No, let me set up and then I'll do it.
Okay, because yeah, you might be right out of it.
I need teaspoons from my kid.
How do you get?
I need a half teaspoon. It's all in.
What's your number? So he knows what kids are there? Just ask him where she's standing.
Sorry.
It's okay. That's why we have Carson, and that's why we have prep time.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing.
That's what that's about.
Yeah. That's the only thing that I'm missing is a teaspoon, a half teaspoon.
Yep, he's on it.
In a bar rack.
I'll get you one. We've got a lot now.
Thank you. beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, 5 minutes prep, bless you. Halfway done.
Can I pee now?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, get out of here.
Thank you. I'll be right back.
And you know, there's one right around the corner here. Yeah, you don't have to go upstairs. And how are you guys doing? Need anything? Was lunch okay? Yeah, well, delish. The spit and sugar, what fly doesn't want that?
I bet you were taking some of her juice. Lemon juice, something like that. Steal some of it.
We all just thought, how have I not heard that before?
Look what Cassandra sent me. She's watching the feed. Patrick did space, you read your mind, LOL. Because when I heard this, I was like, it's space. I will. She's in. Is she? I texted her yesterday. She's in fractions, like low adult fractions and starters. So tomorrow's my birthday. I'm really hoping she has the girl on her birthday. Wouldn't that be awesome? So, Carson, I'm gonna want you to know a little bit about time. No big deal. We'll make it up. But I want you to go down and get make sure Slava is gonna be ready to come up in 5 minutes, and then you're gonna put him at that area there. So, guys, I am gonna move you for a competitor in 5 minutes. If you just thank you so much.
I'm so good. Was it? Yeah, exactly. Hang on, ladies.
Would you like us to sit here or
I want you guys here.
Hey,
Yes.
girls, talk a while.
I'm only making one drink right now. It's
That's
gonna
a
be
fact.
fun.
That is a fact. All right, I'm gonna start you then.
Okay.
Okay, great. Go for it.
Beautiful. And hi, I'm Leanne.
Okay, yeah, I knew.
Pleasure. Nice to meet you. Jackson, I met you yesterday. I am presenting my Emerald City cocktail. This is a drink that is based on urban gardening, vertical gardening, and aeroponic engineering. So it's one step ahead of hydroponic. What they're doing is they're actually combining nutrients and humidity into air, and therefore growing plants with 95% less water and no soil whatsoever. So I studied architecture in college, so this is very personal to me. I always wanted to design a building that was green and modern and created like a sense of like oxygen and space. But structurally, it's very challenging. So what they are doing is they're actually creating a strategic layering system where they have the air, the humidity, and it's feeding all the nutrients, and then they've got an LED system. So all of these greens, they're doing arugula, watercress, et cetera, like very modern food, things that are good for urban situations. So in my cocktail, the Emerald City, what I'm doing is I'm depending on the rye, that 95% rye content, 5% toasted malted barley, to give the like substance of this cocktail. It's creating a little bit of that, like you get a bit of dill, a little bit of mint. It's so green, it's so vegetal, it's so bright, but then it's still aromatic and beautiful with just a touch of baking spice. So my cocktail really leans on the rye, and it starts with just a dash of celery bitters. It's going to be a sour. It's shaken. It's very comfortable, very easy. This is going to be green apple and lemon. I did this so that the apple doesn't oxidize. So it's going to be a full ounce of lemon green apple juice. Beyond that, I'm complementing it with a little bit of New York honey blended with cane. So you get that body, you get that texture, you get the little bit of earthy tones. And it's a half an ounce of that. On top of it, I'm using a really beautiful Fino coming from San Lucar. So it's technically not a manzanilla, but it's just enough saline to really punch through this cocktail. So it's just a half an ounce. Add some body, add some solidity, add some base, and then I made a beautiful watercress syrup. This has a little bit of lemon zest in it. It's got a little bit of cane. I'm just going to do a 1/4 ounce. It adds that bright vegetal green. Relates back to the farming techniques, the actual urban planning. And this is what's really cool about this vertical farm. It's called Aero Farms. It's in New York. And they are doing, it's an old steel mill. They're readapting, they're recreating, they're renovating New York. And now they're providing more food for New York and Jersey and our tri-state area without taking up any landscape. I'm gonna do 2 ounces of this watercress infused bullet rye. It's amazing because the aroma from it is still all those like honey barrel notes, and then you get that spice. It's bright, it's bitter. It almost has like this horseradish, arugula flavor to it, but at the end of the day, the rye shines through. And with apple and watercress, all of these things are just building upon the flavors that rye already has in it. So at the end of the day, this is a rye cocktail. It's also just a New York sour. Not what you think of traditionally, but. So real quick. It's beautiful because the aeroponic is the main technology along with the LED lighting, but this idea of transferring nutrients, transferring moisture, flavor, all of this is built into this technology. That's why I wanted to shake my drink, to really make it emulsified, to like bind it together, to know that you're getting this beautiful flavor, this aroma. Everything is blended because it's the same way that they work with the aeroponics. And it's incredible that they're saving all of this water, saving this structural soil, to create these greens that can really be sold locally. They're non-GMO. And on the menu that I printed for you, it's basically like a tech sheet, like a spreadsheet for your building. So, I'm just going to gently lower these into your glasses. These are also organic shapes to symbolize the organic growth. And it's incredible that we're finally figuring this out. We've talked about doing organic growing since 10 years ago in New York City. And what I wanted to do was I created a celery bitters solution that creates a beautiful aromatic, and it's going to flavor and aromatize this cocktail with this cold mist. And what's happening here is that it's ultrasonic plates that are condensing my liquid into a mist that not only gives a beautiful appearance, but aromatizes and flavors, just the way that the nutrients would be passed along in humidity in this like tri-level technology. So this is going to give you both flavor, appearance, and when you're ready, I'd like you to pull it off and taste it. On to the next one. It's amazing. The flavor does connect to the liquid and it does sit on top of the rock. I'm just going to do this one more time so you have that fresh, vibrant mist. And for my presentation, you have the LED lights, the growth. I've been growing these. What's amazing about the inch leaf, this is the plant that I chose, is that it's very adaptable. It grows in liquid, like water, it grows in soil, and it also attaches different roots to just the air. So through this, you see the versatility, and it's amazing because the type of plants that they're growing are hydroponic, soilponic, like they really are adaptable, and at the end of the day, they transfer all this nutrients into our body, and that's the main purpose of having this vertical urban garden. But when it comes to the rye, it's just absolutely beautiful. It builds upon the flavors that are already there, and at the same time, you get this like bright spice. You feel that 90% rye to the 5% barley, and it's really present. Yeah. Do you have any questions?
Did you build this box?
I didn't. I actually, that's the beautiful thing is that this is something that people, especially when we live in New York City, we have no space, no backyard, no room to grow. You can buy something like this and you can grow arugula and watercress in your kitchen because it's on a light timer. So it does 12 hours light, 12 hours dark. It's already built in. And
Can you remist that one so
yes, absolutely.
Shannon can see it?
I would love to. Yeah, it's amazing because the mist isn't just there for attraction. It's really transferring the flavor and the aroma to the cocktail itself. It's really fun. And you can do anything, but the celery bitters for me, it has that baking spice note. It's got a little bit of clove. And it blends both with the green of the rye and the barrel spice of the rye. So it's definitely the best combination. Can I answer any questions for you?
No, I think I asked mine.
Okay.
How did you infuse the bourbon? Was it just a straight? What method did you use?
It's amazing. I did 20 grams of watercress and I flash blended it and strained it out. But then the syrup on top of it adds a little bit more of that green element, a little bit more depth. And I was able to work with the sugars in a different way. But what I really found was,
I was just gonna say, can I taste it on its own?
yeah, just the bourbon. Absolutely. It's amazing. It, the rye with a bullet. It's incredible. I love, it gives like a kind of like horseradish brightness, like the spice. It's like arugula.
Awesome, great job.
Thank you so much.
awesome.
Thank you.
Ooh, I broke that. I broke it. It's fine.
Okay.
I broke it real good.
You shall pass.
We will make it beyond this.
Do you need anything else? Is this you?
Yeah.
This?
No, that's not mine.
It's not yours?
No, it is. Bring it with me. Sorry. Oh, this is my jacket office. What do you want to know about? So, it's some technology that hasn't been released yet. It's two plates that broke together extremely fast to press a cold power onto the coffee. So it's like the idea of a humidifier, but it's cold. It's the same as like a aromatic diffuser, but for me, I use
Go Korea.
Oh, it's one of the vegetables that they grow. They do all these.
For sure.
Well, what's your
Okay. It's back there until we find. Okay.
So there's 2 ounces of brine. And then there was 1 ounce of the green apple lemon. I did that so that it wouldn't oxidize. And then I've got half an ounce of the peanut, half an ounce of the honey cane, and 1 solid dash of celery. And then the aroma is all celery and yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
So the cohort of yours, I'm going to
Right behind you. Sorry. No, right behind you.
The other.
Okay. Couple things. There's broken glass back there. It should not affect you. It's all the way behind. So don't rub around on the floor behind there. Second of all, the sinks over there don't work if you forget a touch. It's right here. Where you need to plug in.
Yeah. It's a little bit wobbly.
I know.
So, I can do
Gotta start your time while you figure that out. Hannah, these yours? These yours?
That's right, on the bottom.
That was not for you. That was not for you. Oh, is that right? Well, there's some free drinks outside, so go get that. Yeah, there's the bowl of wood. Yeah, there's free drinks. What kind of? What kind of? What are you doing here? You guys. Oh, that's.
I need to
sorry.
go.
That's okay. Still in the 3 hour.
Okay, I will go here.
There you go. That means it's safe.
I'll kind of watch it done.
Slava, can I help you with anything?
So,
What if you take the speaker out?
huh?
What if you take the
Yes,
rail out? Let's
I will do that in the.
In the middle?
Let's do that. Hold
can you run and get your tulip strainer? Okay.
Orange.
An orange, okay.
If it's possible to
Two
have a big
oranges,
one.
okay. Anything else before I go?
I don't think so.
Okay, 2 oranges. Trainer's gone its way.
Wonderful. Thank you. There's one cocktail. One cocktail, right? The egg might. Bigger scoops.
Somebody else.
Sure. Can I have a 2 big ice cubes?
2 big ice cubes? And this is okay right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
2 cubes?
Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks, darling. Ask Amy. She got the place. We're doing the dark hair. Ta-da! Yes, perfect. Did Jackson run to the restroom? Slavic, I can have them sit back here so that there's more room for this. That people have been
Yes,
swapping.
because I probably need
think-
to go from this side.
I think it's better for how fiddly this is that they're not next to it. Okay.
If you don't mind.
I'll get this computer. Flower tank somewhere. I don't feel like you guys need that. it's just right there. Sorry. He's gonna have you sit back here. I brought your computer. It's a reflex. I can't help it. A cat with a hairball. My least favorite part of this job. Yeah.
We're gonna sit back here.
Yeah, you got it. He's done 2 minutes.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, for the win. Good stuff. Thank you.
Do you know if it was?
Check with, I think they broke a bottle of some almond butter or something. First ski round in San Diego, I busted up and I went out for a ski round. And like, so it like did like a arc and I'm like, oh, and everyone was such a bummer. And it was a mile away. So we had to run closing round a mile and all this. Not as bad as Slava, are you going to want any time warnings from me? That's your clock. You can put it wherever you want, but if you want like a 5-minute or 2-minute warning, like verbally, I can give that to you. But if not, I can just let you do it. 5, 3, 2, 1. You got it. And you want that clock over there? Okay, so perfect.
Good afternoon, dear judges. My name is Slava Borisov, and I'm very happy to be here. The first person to step here in this wonderful facility, Bullet Bourbon and Wine Visitor Center and Distillery. This is the big honor for me to perform here and make a cocktail for you today. I started to do preparation for this competition by researching Bullet Frontier works. I was very impressed about artwork and the technology ideas that I have seen in the social media and the website. This inspired me to create the philosophy and the concept of my performance, which I call the harmony of sustainability by Bullet. The idea of my performance is to pay respect to the product that I'm working with, make it fun and stylish while producing minimal remains. My crucial ingredient of my cocktail is the Bullet Bourbon. I decided to use this bullet as the symbol of the beginning of bullet history, which started in 1830. In my cocktail, I aimed to support the main notes of Bullet Bourbon, such as a maple, oak, nutmeg, and try to complement with other ingredients. I didn't want to overwhelm my drink, make it just as simple, just add citruses, herbs, and make a perfect pedestal where the Bullet Bourbon can shine. My other two ingredients is the homemade citrus syrup and Bullet Bourbon based herb infusion. Every time when I work in the bar, I worry about the amount of remains that the bartender is producing during the shift. Most of the time, the common things are citruses and herbs. Bartenders very often using lime, lemons, oranges, grapefruits to do juicing, also use those peels to extract the oil on top of the cocktail, and also for garnish. And after that, they discard them, even though there's still a lot of things that could be used. So this made me think about the sustainable syrup that I create. This syrup, based on the daily basis, reminds from the bar. I started to make this syrup as a saccharum using the sugar to extract the flavorful oil from the citruses. After that, water was added to create the consistency of the syrup. It could be a different variation of citruses, depending on the season and the bar where you work. Actually, this is very universal syrup. You can use the syrup to sweeten your tea, iced tea, sodas, or any other future cocktails that you're gonna come up with. My next ingredient is, speaking of syrup, my next ingredient is the bullet-based herb infusion, based on the 3 main herbs that they're using in all bars around the country. This is the rosemary, this is the mint, and this is the basil. Bullet bourbon is the 45% of alcohol. It's the perfect to extract the fresh notes from the herbs and retain them in the infusion. So this infusion could be used simply as the ready-to-go mint julep. You can just simply add the sugar, crushed ice, and infusion. It's all herbs, it's already there, it's very refreshing. Looking for the Bullet Frontier works, that's inspired me to create the innovative concept that can use be in the bar while they're making cocktails during the cocktail processing. It should be something, in my opinion, fun for guests to watch, for bartender to use, and everybody would enjoy it. So, introducing a Stir Me Up turntable. So this invention married 2 industries, bartending and music. This machine operating in several speeds. DJs and music lovers nowadays using 33 and 45 RPM, which is rotation per minute. But records prior to 1960 required the speed of 78 RPM, which is approximate speed while the bartender stirred their drinks.
5 minutes.
This machine works again with a variety of the different speeds, and it's going to be reflected to the taste of the drinks, because while you're stirring, there's 2 factors that you need to keep in your mind. First is the dilution time, and the second one is the temperature of this drink. Usually it's the 30 or 40 stirs, which in this machine it's going to be 22 seconds. It's pretty much the same like you doing your regular stir in the bar. So let me show you how this machine working, and let's spin the bullet. There's the name of my cocktail. All right, gonna do some ice. All right.
And 3 minutes.
Lovely. So, nice. Our drink is almost ready. You also can drink from the stirring glass, but yeah. So I'm gonna strain it. And also just gonna do some garnish preparation. I'm going to use the orange swath. To bring some citrus notes for my cocktail. And speaking of the reusable things, I'm gonna use the nutmeg, and you can use it several times. So I just ground it in half and just put the whole in. So it's the nutmeg to support the nutmeg notes of the bullet bourbon. So, according to my philosophy,
2 minutes.
the cocktail or the song will be the greatest if you're proud of what you're making, if your heart full of love and passion, and when you're surrounded by friends who inspired you. My cocktail is finished. Thank you so much. Enjoy.
You want the stuff? Do you mind? I'll bring it over here. I'll bring it. Everybody else, those sinks don't work, but you're probably going to forget it.
Okay.
You can have the judges with you or behind you, and your stuff's right here. And Ricky's going to start your time and then do your time.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you. Actually, can you do me a favor? Could you cut me 2 pieces?
Well, sir, there's nothing on earth like a genuine bona fide electric-car 6-car monorail. What did I say? Monorail. What did I call it? Monorail. Hi, my name is Adam George Fournier. This is my Bullet Final Frontier presentation of the monorail, and I promise this will all eventually make sense. So, when I was looking to do this competition, this project, I started with the thesis statement that Bullet Bourbon, or Bullet Whiskey, is a frontier whiskey for the modern frontier. And that means the cultural frontier. Bullet has always looked to partner with people who are at the edge of that frontier or looking to push that border. I'm very fortunate that I get to work in downtown Los Angeles. I'm within walking distance of Grand Central Market, which is the site of one of the very first Bullet Frontier Works projects, Neon. And it is a giant neon mural by artists, I'm going to piss all my bullet notes, Lisa Schultz and Brenda Donnelly. It is a massive, old school, neon, hand-blown mural done modern style and modern aesthetics. So I walked down to that mural to draw some inspiration. And while I was there, I realized that one thing that's always kind of drawn me to neon, aside from the fact that I work in bars, is that it has kind of a sense of crude animation to it a lot of times. It evokes movement out of stillness. And while I was there, I also decided to take Angel's Flight up the hill. If you are not from Los Angeles, probably not familiar with Angel's Flight, it is the shortest incorporated railroad in the world. It runs at a 33-degree angle of 300 feet of hill from Grand Central Market to the Broad Museum, and it is terrifying. While I was on this 2-minute ride, thinking about animation and trains and my Shelbyville idea, all I could think about was the monorail. The monorail episode of The Simpsons is quite arguably the best episode of The Simpsons ever created. Constantly sits at the top of fan polls and set the groundwork for what the show eventually became. Simpsons also was and arguably is at the edge of that cultural frontier, constantly pushing boundaries. Bullet is the Simpsons of American whiskey. It was at the forefront of the bourbon boom, helped reintroduce rye to the drinking public, and it was one of the darlings of the early days of the cocktail movement. The Simpsons was highly influential to me when I was growing up, even though I wasn't supposed to watch it. Sorry, Mom. But more than just the show's influence on me, it has had a personal effect. When I first moved to Los Angeles, I worked for Conan O'Brien, who wrote the monorail episode, and has famously said on his tombstone, he said, "I wrote the monorail episode of The Simpsons." But it even goes beyond that. One of my favorite regulars that I've ever had in my life is a gentleman by the name of David Silverman. I met David because he came in as part of a band that played for me on Whiskey Wednesdays at my bar. Whiskey Wednesdays was an event I started to try to bring people in and educate them about whiskey, share my passion for it with them, especially American whiskey. David was a tuba player for a New Orleans jazz band that was always our busiest nights. After every time he played, he'd sit down at the bar, we would talk whiskey for a couple hours, and he'd challenge me to come up with a new drink for him. After 6 months of slow rolling me, David slides a sketch to me across the bar of Homer Simpson doing a little drink. Turns out that Mr. Silverman is one of the original 2 animators from The Simpsons from the Tracy Ullman days. Not only is he still an executive producer on the show, he directed the movie of The Simpsons. And this is a man that I hung out with all the time. But not only is he still part of The Simpsons, culturally he's a brilliant musician and pushes the boundaries. He's at Burning Man every year playing a flaming tuba. This is a man, a 63-year-old man whose life inspires me. So, as I was thinking about his problems, I thought it all suddenly came together. I was going to take all of these personal frontiers, all of these personal rediscoveries, and I was going to take a drink that I used to make for David, and I was going to update it with all the technology that I'd learned how to do in the years since then. This drink, even back then, used Bullet Bourbon, and it incorporated flavors of apricot and chocolate in a very simple, old-fashioned style. It's a drink that I always loved, so I was really looking forward for an opportunity to update it. So, start where I started back then, as many young bartenders do, by making my own bitters. Running joke is nowadays, I don't want to taste your homemade bitters. There's a good reason for that. They're hard to do. Even back then when I was trying to make them, they didn't always come out right. But the thing I've always found is that there's not really good fruit bitters out there. And I really love those flavors of peach and apricot. So I always tried to make my own apricot bitters. Back in the day, I just tried steeping them and getting them that way, but it wasn't always working out. Being the nerd that I am, I helped fund the original Kickstarter for Dave Arnold's Centrifuge. And that finally gave me the route I needed to be able to make these bitters the way I wanted to. Using that centrifuge, I take fresh apricots, sous vide them in high-proof spirit, then blend them together and centrifuge them. This gives all the freshness and richness of those apricots without any dried out flavor or any sugar, or really cutting out the time. But it does leave a very high proof spirit to work with, so I needed to dilute them down. So I took one of the lessons I learned from the kitchen, that dilution is an opportunity for flavor. And instead of just diluting with water, I added barley tea as a dilution to bring it down to proof. So now all of a sudden I have a fruit bitter that I can use judiciously that's not going to overwhelm the drink, and also helps complement the natural flavors that are existent in Bulleit bourbon. Next up is the chocolate. I love the aroma and flavor of chocolate, but I hate sweet things. It's one of the big balances of my life. So for this, I really geeked out and finally got to use a piece of technology I've always wanted to use, and I turned to a rotovap. I took 62% dark cacao, melted it down, blended it with neutral spirit, and then ran through the rotovap. The rotovap allows for very precise extraction of flavor and cutting points. So what I was able to do is create a tincture that's perfectly clear, but has all the full aromatics of dark chocolate without the bitterness or the sugar. So now I was able to get the two base flavors that are perfect complements to the Bulleit and that I really liked about this drink into my new monorail. Problem was, I served out too much sweet. Now all of a sudden I didn't have enough to hold the drink together the way it used to be. I also lost some of the richness that you get from a creme de cacao or other chocolate spirits. So I turned to one of the first techniques I actually learned how to do properly, fat washing. And I took cacao butter and fat washed it into blanc vermouth. This added back in a richness and a body to the drink while not adding too much of a sweetness. The final step was relearning a lesson I had to learn a very long time ago, which is that just because you can make it yourself doesn't mean it's always going to be the best thing. The drink was good, it was sitting there solid, but it was missing something. And what I found was, rather than trying to come up with another homemade ingredient, turning people who've been doing it for centuries and know what they're doing helps out a lot. So I added in a 1/4 ounce of Punta Mess. And then finally, big star of the show, Bulleit Tenure. Since I upgraded the monorail, I want to upgrade the base spirit from the base Bulleit bourbon. The 10-year bourbon adds an extra tannin, oak, and vanilla, perfectly partners with the flavors that are in the drink, while adding its own high rye content that adds its own character that doesn't overwhelm anything and becomes a star of the show. Also, thematically, this is now a drink that's been 10 years in the making for me. It makes sense. And with age statements disappearing every single day, having a 10-year-old bourbon being able to be re-released and consistently on the market is the frontier of the new bourbon market. And the high rye mash bill is a throwback to the Bulls family original recipe before Prohibition. So thematically made a bunch of sense to go back this way. So, full 1.5 ounces. Now, I still wanted this to be an old-fashioned style drink, but I also knew that it had a little bit more depth to it. I also wanted it to be a little bit more lively. The monorail is a floating machine. It is a little scary. So instead of stirring or shaking, I decided to throw the drink. This would allow for the texture to remain the same, but add a little bit more Asian. As well as being a great opportunity to show off a little. And one more. Fantastic. The drink is then capped off with a little grated chocolate to add back in those aromatics, nutmeg for a traditional old-fashioned style, and roasted whole dark cacao beans. Now all of a sudden, all of the aromatics on this drink prepare your palate for the honestly surprising texture and finish of this drink. It drinks like it should be dessert, but it finishes it the way you're completely unexpected. Now, to cap it off in the last 30 seconds, nothing would be complete without living my childhood dream of becoming a Simpsons character. I reached out to Mr. Silver and let him know I was doing this, and asked him if he'd be willing to help out with the project. And he said, why? The hell not. So here I am, as Lionel Langley, the monorail salesman, as I present to you my Bulleit Frontier, a Final Frontier drink, the monorail. And because I know we didn't have much control over the lighting, if you want to get more of the full effect of the neon, I brought dark curtains. If you want to huddle under me like we're playing pretend, you can get a little bit better sense of what's going on.
That up here, please. The whole bus. The whole bus stop. Oh, those don't work. Like what I said, use it for good.
Yeah, it was just for
What is that thing?
It's a levitator, so it's an electromagnet.
Is it like a spot or?
This is a store-bought one. It's a little bit of a map for it. So it's two electromagnets.
What is
It's actually normally marketed for the ideas that you wanted it to be used for trains and things like that. It's still in its early days. It's only holding about half a pound. So it's still it would still bounce, but with the time constraints, I didn't want to risk it, so I was flying there for a while. But yeah, it's one of my favorite ones. It's pretty cool.
Feel good?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, when the judges are done, we'll get you started then. You're still right. Do you want warnings from me, like 5 minute, 2 minute, anything like that? Or for the rest of
Yes,
it?
please.
5 30 seconds! Or like, Raul, what time is it now? What time is it now? What time is it now? What time is it now?
Is that what you do?
Yeah, like every 20, and it was weird. I'd be like 7 minutes, 28 seconds, be like, cool, cool. And then 17 seconds later, you'd be like, what time is it now? And I'd be like, 7 minutes, 8 seconds, cool, cool.
That's amazing.
Now that I've been hanging out with him, working together, I get that's just his personality. He's all like kooky and me. He can't help it, you know? So, yeah.
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna start you right now.
Thank you. Hello, judges. How are you two?
Good. How are you?
Sam, I knew.
Pleasure to meet you. Welcome. So today, of course, we're talking about bullet bourbon and kind of what's going on with the industry and outside of the industry and what's advancing, well, the world. But I want to talk a little bit about where we all started, right? So this is a piece of wood. It's actually 2 pieces of wood, which I'm sure you can decipher, that a very good friend of mine created for me. He's actually a woodworker. And then he burned bullet bourbon into the bottom of this for you, a little plate for the cocktails. And then I have another friend of mine, his name is Paul. He did this piece of artwork for me here. Now, Paul is a very interesting character, and he's who kind of gave me the inspiration for what I'm going to do for you this evening. Paul was born in France. He lived there until he was 16, and then he moved to Argentina, where he moved until he was 31, or lived until he was 31. And then he left yesterday to go back to France from Denver, where he was there for 3 months because he was on a visa. Paul has a very interesting story because, like Tom Bullitt, he didn't start out in the industry that he's currently in. He's actually a very popular artist in the Denver area. He does pieces on wood and on any different type of mediums, but he's most well known in Denver because he does street art, graffiti, if you will. So there are several very prominent pieces that he has around town. Paul, however, did not start out being an artist. That's something that became a passion for him, and he made enough money as a banker in Argentina, but that worked out for him. So he was able to leave his current career and start pursuing these passions that he had, as Tom Bullitt did in 1987, to start pursuing his own passions. So for you today, I'm going to make a cocktail using Bullitt 10 year and some Bullitt rye. The 10 year, of course, having the 28% rye build, and then the Bullitt rye having the 95%. So this cocktail is going to be a little more rye heavy than most bourbon drinks. I'm going to do 1.5 ounces of the bourbon and 1/2 ounce of rye. Just really wanted some of that spice to kind of come through. And with that, I'm going to use a couple different ingredients. So first, we're going to do some cinnamon syrup and some vanilla. Of course, the vanilla especially, I wanted to highlight the time that the 10 year has had in that oak, and some passion fruit. I wanted to use some passion fruit to kind of highlight some acidity going on. I really wanted to showcase the fruitiness of the Bullitt product in summertime. As you can see in this picture here, it's got all those nice like blue colors. There's the home. And Paul is known for making 2 different types of artwork. He loves people, and it's really great. These really huge animated like children with like big ears. I don't know why they always have big ears. We didn't talk about that. But we did talk about the houses. And the houses were really important to him because of the connection that he had with his family as a child in France. He lived in this huge chateau, which of course led me to believe that it wasn't just his
career as a banker that allowed him to pursue this passion eventually. And it just meant a lot to him. So he wanted to kind of highlight that in the presentation for me as well. And this cocktail I actually didn't come up with until he created this image for me. And I threw some egg white in there as well, which soon you will find out why. There's the egg white, of course. And so as I said earlier, we have 1.5 ounces of the bullet tenure. And we're going to have a 1/2 ounce of the bullet rye for you. Now the best part about Paul is that his accent, anytime we go anywhere, every woman around wants to speak to him. And I mean, of course, he's French and Argentinian, so he has this really great, thick, confusing accent that makes you wonder which way they go now, which is great. It's fun for everybody, really. So this is the 3rd time now, some of you know what's coming, that I have had to dry shake your cocktail. 3rd time in 4 different challenges. So I will ask that you all make a little bit of noise, a lot of noise, please, for me as I dry shake these drinks real quick. Ready? Cool, let's do it. All right, that was wonderful. However, this is the last time that you're going to see me shake or compete. So, whenever I shake with the ice, I need a little bit more. Okay? I want you to feel it. I want them to hear it in Scotland. I want all the good things happening. I want Tom to come down from his office and ask why the hell there's so much noise coming from this competition. All right? Let's do it. That was lovely. So whenever I was deciding what kind of technology to use on this drink, and I had already kind of chosen to do graffiti or to do street art, as I kind of mentioned earlier. I just really wanted to be able to connect with my friend and show another side of this challenge. So I used an edible printer to print an image on some rice paper that's going to be accompanied by some flowers. So it's going to have kind of like a 3D aspect to it, with the image kind of melting in on top of the cocktail for you. And with this whole presentation, I really wanted it to be made out of wood to represent where we came from, kind of the beginnings of our art, not necessarily cocktails, but just as humanity, the wood representing earth and where we came from, and then this top piece representing where we have gone and where we still have to go. The wall representing humanity and all its future glory, and then of course, the most famous graffiti artist of all time. We have a Banksy image on top of this for you. And then I also decided to use some marigolds on top. This image is going to be a very famous one, you'll recognize it right away, where there is a riot guy, I'm sure that's not the right word, riot gentleman, throwing a bouquet of flowers, but he's dressed as if he's throwing gas or something of that sort. So I wanted to kind of show again humanity and where we're going.
240.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, judges. So these 2 cocktails for you. I've named it the City of Murals. The reason I named it City of Murals is because the city of Philadelphia is where the modern graffiti movement began, with a gentleman whose nickname is Cornbread in 1965. That's another story. Here you are, the City of Murals.
Can I take one? Yeah. That's also the art gallery.
Awesome. You have something? Okay. I'll be right back with your lots of pretty men. You want that guy? And that one? Good? Okay.
Yeah. Great.
And shall I take the creme de cacao out of your way so it's not governor?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I didn't have time to get crushed ice.
I can get you crushed ice. That's okay.
can I just mix it?
Yeah, I'm not using it.
Regular mango is coming. Where's your makeup?
Cool.
Do you want to take that stuff out of maybe put it in here so it's the bus of it? We can just put your food down there. We can put your bus just down here. Yeah, I just put it down here so it's on it.
Sorry.
Oh no, I just. No, that's true with everybody.
Yeah. Well, you have 5 minutes to breathe. Sit down, walk around, through your nose.
Look at a Google Drive file.
Yeah, absolutely. No, seriously, you have a solid 5 minutes. Do whatever you please. What do you need? Of course. Tell me.
And zester.
Do you want to go grab it? Take, go for it. Yeah, chocolate's on the chocolate stuff. Get it to you, get it from back there. Yeah, absolutely. You want block chocolate or powdered chocolate?
Yeah.
What's that?
Block.
So you're just east of 64th. That's the line. Oh, very cool. All that water from.
Yeah, really got me. Yeah. Awesome guy. And it was totally surprising. He's been to 11 different countries for World Class but never to America. Yeah. And he's like, around 30 years ago, I would have. Really? He's like, yeah, I like this so much. So that was really cool. That's powdered, we need block. What chocolate do you have? Can you go and grab it for me? Thank you. Adam's gonna get you some chocolate. It takes a village.
I fell through on a lot of it, so.
It's okay. That's why it's 10 minutes. Yeah. We still have 3 minutes.
We have the. What was your name one more time, sir? Jackson.
Thanks for being here.
I mean.
He's got chocolate chips that you can great.
Okay, that works.
Just make sure you go eat your chips.
Mostly knuckles, you said?
All knuckle. I like it. Knuckle thick. That's what I said. That didn't go so
Yeah, both.
Okay. You want a 1, 2? You can have as many as you want.
That's fine. That's great.
There we go. Minute to spare. Look at that. You can keep that, taking that minute. First day. First day. First day. First day. 30 seconds. Ten seconds. Okay. I'm gonna start your time.
How we doing, guys? My name's Henry. Sorry. And I bring you a frontier challenge that's kind of out of this world. My technology that I wanted to focus on today was the ion, like low heat, low propulsion ion engine that NASA produced back in the 60s. This also actually was equipped on the Deep Space One mission in 1998 and propelled it through space with fuel left over after its entire mission to do the mission again. And my focus is on this technology because our Earth is becoming extremely populated and used up. We're going through our resources pretty fast, which is kind of sad, and the pollution is getting out of hand. And a lot of people are looking inward and how to fix the problem, and not really focusing. It's kind of outlandish to say, "Oh, what if we found a second Earth?" So I really wanted to focus on maybe the what if of if we could get to a second Earth, and maybe provide the salvation of the human race by providing ourselves another planet. So the focus of the presentation today is the NASA ion engine, and it works by using xenon gas, basically a plasma, and they jet it into electromagnetic chamber, and it controls it into a pod, and they basically apply electricity, and it accelerates the ions through a screen, and it accelerates them at 90,000 kilometers a second, which produces thrust by the laws of physics with very little fuel. The problem is the thrust is pretty weak, but in zero gravity environments, since there's no friction, no matter your mass, your odds are with you. So hopefully one day we can kind of focus this technology and get us to another planet, and maybe save our planet. The cocktail today I'm bringing to you is variation on a mint julep. Very simple, earthly cocktail. And I wanted to do that because, whenever that second Earth comes, I want to have something that is an earthly delight, maybe something savory, or something that is from this Earth, that grew here, to remember our Earth by when it passes eventually. Hopefully it doesn't. So I'm just going to start with a little Angostura, as is aromatic bitters, as is all juleps. Just a tiny touch of sugar. This is a 101 simple. This cocktail is typically balanced by itself, but due to the amount of booze in it, I just kind of wanted to make it a little more user-friendly and rely less on dilution to balance the cocktail. Moving on to one of my pivotal ingredients in this. This is a cocoa nib sous vide green chartreuse, so very high proof, but also very, very savory. It actually, when I first tasted this actually took me several days to kind of wrap my head around how much was going on and how deep this spirit had become, because there's already 132 botanicals in green chartreuse, also all grown on the earth. So it took me a minute to kind of process the depth of the flavor behind this. Beyond that, I kind of wanted to focus on chocolate, because chocolate, we all love chocolate. If you don't like chocolate, I'm sorry. It's very spicy, so on and so forth. So I'm just using a little creme de cacao to kind of create, bolster that cocoa nib in the green chartreuse, and bring it out through the proof of the spirit by adding sugar and kind of cutting that. Finally, now we come to our base spirits. I want to use bullet bourbon in this because it is entirely appropriate, and this is the focus, right? This is an ode to the Frontier project, which is bringing to light technologies and fields of work that might better us every day that we might not see all the time, which is extremely helpful. And I think the people that are in these fields appreciate it a lot. I just want to say thank you, Tom Bullitt, if you're watching, for giving us the world that opportunity. So. I'm splitting the base spirit with Ronza Cup XO. This is beautiful Guatemalan aged above the clouds in the House of the Clouds in Guatemala, which is actually the closest distillery to outer space. Fun fact, it's just at about 7,500 feet in Guatemala. But this has just rich, really, really rich banana baking spice and brown sugar notes that kind of cut down on that really high proof green chartreuse and allow it to kind of the bullet to kind of shine through with the wood, and they complement each other very well. And no mint julep would be complete without a whole lot of mint. So. Very generous amount of mint. Fun fact, I noticed that there's two different varieties of mint that World Class is actually using for the thing. One is called Kentucky mint. It's actually a variation of spearmint with the long leaves. Has a slightly different flavor profile than the one I'm using here. The variation between yesterday and today, I noticed. With the proof of this cocktail, a lot of dilution is required, so bear with me here. finishing off with a little chocolate shaved over the top,
1 minute.
just to kind of give you a preview of actually what you're gonna taste as well. And that's all she wrote, folks. This is Earthly Delight from Earth 1. I can clean all of them.
So you just put all of your stuff. That is hot. Oh, turn it up, turn it up. Gosh darn. There we go.
I didn't know you were a space nerd too. Love it.
Talk to me about
I love everything.
Me too, man. It's my favorite things. What was it, like 3 weeks ago or what? That woman, like, actually took the picture of the black hole? Oh boy.
You use that hovercraft at work, or is that?
This is the first time I've actually used it. I didn't know if it was going to work. Originally, my idea was to float the cocktail on there, but it didn't count.
Give me just one second before I start.
Your ideas can weigh a lot more than, you know, your, yeah, they need value. Big time. I just did something.
Oh, gotcha. Is this your honey?
To the eyes, create a sensory
Do you want to come have a look at this ice? Because we had some crush ice dumped into the cold draft. Are you okay with the cold draft on this side, or should I get you new cold draft on your pan time? I can get new cold draft.
This might be okay.
Just tell me.
Is there a scoop?
No. I think.
Hey guys, thank you so much.
Where's my scoop? There it is. Oh, that it got scooped up. Ha ha ha. You tell me, is that alright?
Yeah, that should be
Okay.
fine.
And then if you need anything or forgot anything during your 10 minutes, Carson can go run and get it for you. Actually, Carson, aren't you supposed to be done working?
Yeah.
Oh, honey, you're so sweet. Gosh darn it. I should have said something. Get out of here. All right. Bye. Bye. I can't really see anything. All right. You gotta start your time. If you need anything, I'll get it. He's the nicest guy. He's so nice. He probably would have been here till 6 if I hadn't seen him. He's so nice. Just makes me
Yeah, 521 would be fine.
You got it.
I think we're good.
Good? Okay. I'm going to turn it so you can see it as well. And I'm going to start your time now.
Inspiration can come from anything. A song, a picture, or even an experience that you've had. It's these experiences that help fuel the fire of innovation and help push industry forward. In the last 10 to 20 years, technology has given us the opportunity to get to information we've never thought possible. We can source ingredients from almost anywhere in the world now. With the touch of a button, we can talk with a Michelin chef and get knowledge from him on how to make different things for our home. We can even figure out new and inventive ways to use fermentation in cocktails as well. Today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a cocktail for you that is both innovative but also interactive as well. And to start on our cocktail journey, we're going to use bullet rye. And a straight rye has beautiful spice notes and oak that is going to set the tone for our cocktail experience. To that, we're going to add a half ounce of cognac. It's going to help highlight those vanilla notes in our rye whiskey. Now, when I mentioned that we can source things from all over the place, I sourced some bourbon barrel chips and smoked Madeira with them. So we have a little smoky Madeira. It's crisp fruit. It's going to pair beautifully with our whiskey. Here, I lacto fermented some steel cut oats for 48 hours and took that and made a syrup out of it. I add, say, sweetening and balancing component, some lacto fermented steel oat syrup. Now, adding acidity to a cocktail can both balance and brighten the flavors that are in it. Instead of using a traditional lemon or lime or grapefruit, I fresh juice some Granny Smith apples, clarified it, and then adjusted the pH of it down with some citric and malic acid to bring it closer to that of lemon juice. I'm going to add some acidified or clarified Granny Smith apple juice. Good shake. Now, if you notice everything up here, all of my tools are copper, not just because I think copper is beautiful and aesthetically pleasing, but every drop of bullet whiskey goes through a copper still just like this. In addition to that, copper is a great conductor. It's used in a lot of different electronic components for that conductive work. We're going to serve this at copper coupe. And we're going to top this cocktail with a roasted pistachio foam, but not just any run-of-the-mill foam. I connected with a Michelin star chef down in Anaheim and told me about this specific type of tapioca starch called Ultratex 3 that adds a really silky consistency to this foam that we're going to put right on top. Now this cocktail has some really beautiful flavors, some nuttiness, some fruit, some apple, some oak, all flavors that complement each other and the rye whiskey base. But that's not enough. There was one thing missing to bring this idea completely around, and that is this. This is a custom-made QR code made with edible ink on rice paper. And what this is going to allow us to do is when we scan this off the top of the cocktail, it is going to link us to whatever website that we want. And this specific one, we'll just pull out our camera, go right on top. Tells you right away, and it's linking us to Bullet. And being the responsible company that Bullet is, it's going to ask for our ID first. We don't want anybody underage. So we were going to enter that we are indeed 21. And this is now linking us directly to Bullet Frontier Works. And Bullet pushing the boundaries of different frontiers, different technologies is what this is all about. So now we have a fully interactive cocktail tying all this together. And that was the final piece of the puzzle. This drink isn't just innovative and interactive. It was something that combined all these thoughts, that last piece of the puzzle to solve that problem, bring it full circle. And that's why I call this cocktail a perfect circuit, a complete circuit, because when I found that last piece of the puzzle that brought this idea to life, that's when I had that aha moment. Awesome, thank you very much. So I live in San Jose, California. So I'm right in the heart of Silicon Valley, surrounded by Tesla and Google and Apple. And innovation is no stranger to that area, and our cocktails are no different from that.
That's it. How about that? We ran.
Absolutely. It did. No, it lit up when, so it's a little, so I made and wired this all myself. Yeah, it's a little rough around the edges, but I'm not an electrician. So I had to literally learn about how to build my own.
Rebecca do a picture or two?
I have. I didn't find your process. So salt, water, oats, sealed in a jar. I have special lids to the top of mason jars that allow gas release, so you don't have to worry about exploding. And I found for steel rolled oats, 48 hours is a sweet spot. So I'd love to give you a sample of that as well.
Awesome! Good job. So just please put all of your tools, everything you brought with you, back into your Busta.
Excellent.
And I will help you take it down. When all is said and done.
Bourbon barrel, wood smoke, 48-hour lacquer fermented steel pepper.
Do you want new shaking ice or do you want to work from here? It's still quite firm, is that alright? Okay. And then your cubes or your spears I'm gonna put on here, unless you feel like it's gonna stick on. So let's put it.
Put them in there. That's okay.
Good? Okay, hold on, let me just wait.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You want me to not? You want to put this back?
No.
Until my turn starts?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Alright, you make Shell proud. I'm starting right now. I'm gonna stay here for a minute or two just to see if you need anything. Yeah, so go on your hand. Yeah, sure. Where's that Raoul? Of course, I can get it for you. Yeah. What kind do you want?
Just regular, yeah, like 20 minutes.
Close yourself. Course of the fine.
Let's do the course.
The course.
Correct.
The course.
Of course, of course.
The course, of course. That noise makes you throw a hat. I have also put out anything else right now?
Take another moment.
Oh yeah, you can have 6, Michael, whenever you want. You can have 6. May I remove Where's this one? Every time somebody talks to me, what is it?
For some reason, because I stood up, I'm at a different angle to my flat. When I was seated, I wasn't catching it, but when I stood up, I was like,
Oh god.
two have a preference to being up here or back there?
Yeah, you can have them here if you don't have one.
I don't have a whole lot of collateral, so if you would like to get closer, you are welcome.
Thank you.
Except for the four more that are later. I know, I'm like, oh. Except for that. Please think you know.
Appreciate the honor.
And you don't know anything about it, you can't prepare for it. The whole thing. There's a breeze. Oh yeah, I love you guys. I brought
No,
oh yeah.
but I think it's.
I don't know what that This is my past thing. My digital, but it's analog thing.
We started here, but we started the day up here mostly.
And then people's set pieces got
Let me know when I can shut them up for you.
Yeah.
All right. Everybody simmer down.
Oh, this commercial's really cool.
We are going to get started on the final challenge and the final challenger of the day for the final frontier, which is the final challenge of this season until the surprise speed round during announcement. But this is it. This will be our last competitor, and after that, we'll know who the winner of the 2019 season is. Super duper duper exciting. I'm gonna put 10 minutes on the clock. You want a 5-minute, 2-minute warning?
If you just leave it facing me, I'll keep an eye on it. I find that that's distracting.
How about that?
That's so great. I love it. Hello, everyone. My name is Joshua Haddock, in case you've never met me before, and I will be your final presenter today. Let's see, what am I going to give you? We're going to do a whiskey coke for the YouTube. And what I just said is sort of true, sort of not true, which goes along with the title of my cocktail, which is It Is What It Isn't. So when thinking about the Final Frontier Cocktail Challenge, at first I was just extremely intimidated by the prospect of this challenge. Like, what could I bring to the table that, you know, the Aviary or Alex Day or Dave Arnold, I kept wanting to call him Arnold Palmer when I was practicing, by the way, hadn't already brought to the table technologically. And part of what the challenge was saying, as far as how I read it, was that you wanted to bring the final frontier of cocktails to this challenge. And I was like, well, if it's not the final frontier, then like what could I bring to the table? I didn't want to just bring something that was kind of neat, but you know, inaccessible, or maybe only had one function. I really wanted to try and strive for something that I think is foundational to where I think cocktails are going. So I struggled with that for a long time, and then I took it to a friend of mine who works in tech in Seattle. For those of you who don't know, Seattle is a very tech-heavy city. Google, Expedia, Amazon, and Facebook all have major bases there. And what's interesting about tech companies is they don't really produce a physical technology, something tangible that you can hold on. Like Google is mostly known for collecting and disseminating data. It's not really known in the same way that like BMW is known for creating cars. Google creates searches, you know? So I went to a colleague of mine who worked for Google, and I was talking to him about this challenge, maybe trying to gain some insight from him. And he had an immediate, like he'd stop me in the middle of describing the challenge, and he said, the answer's data. The final frontier of everything, from cars to coffee to cocktails, is data. Like, we used to think it was space, but then we got to space, and space, we didn't get very far. And we came home, and we've been contenting ourselves with that ever since. But what a lot of people in tech see as the final frontier of data is the final frontier is the collection and use of big data. So I immediately found that inspirational, and it gave me kind of a roundabout way to go about this challenge. So he and I continued to converse, and he set me up with a web-based app called Google Trends, if you've ever used it. You can just type in a buzzword, a hashtag, or whatever, and it will show you how it's trending, where it's trending, when it's trending, and you can start to track all of this data. So I immediately went to Bullet Bourbon. I typed in Bullet to see where it was trending. It was trending in all of the obvious places, LA, New York, it was doing okay in Washington, my home state, and it was doing absolutely abysmal in Oklahoma as far as trends go. So the thing about trends too, though, is they don't necessarily tell you a complete story. You look up a word, and the word, maybe just people in that region don't look it up that way. So you have to kind of look up. I spent hours looking up different ways of phrasing things, like bullet, bullet rye, bullet bourbon, bullet distilling, Diageo, bullet, until you kind of get a full story. And then once you have a narrative, you can really back that up with further data and going forward. So Oklahoma, bullet wasn't doing that well. But the further I looked, really nothing else is either from an alcohol perspective. Keystone Light's doing okay, but that's about it. Because I was looking at it and I'm like, nothing is trending. And I was like, well, let's look at alcohol consumption by state. And as it turns out, alcohol has the lowest alcohol consumption per capita of any state in the United States. So that explains some of that story right there. Further going on into trends, so I guess what I wanted to do as I began to develop a sense of what people were doing in Oklahoma was, right, well, how do I create a cocktail that speaks to the people of Oklahoma? So I began to look up their food trends. I began to look up their state. They had a state meal, which is cool, and it sounds like the most wonderful abomination you've ever had. It's biscuits and gravy and corn on the cob and pecan pie and strawberries and mashed potatoes, and I'm like, all of that? All of that is in your meal? So I wanted to draw from elements of that, something to really tie to the state, to create this beverage, and something that I think would still be elevated in high craft and use high-end technique in the way that is only befitting of world class, but would also be comfortably drank in a bar in Oklahoma. So that's where we started. As it turns out, Oklahoma is one of the biggest distributors and makers of corn, second in the country. I kind of knew that, but I didn't have data to verify it until I started doing research. I didn't want to start with Bullet Bourbon as my base, though, because as we kind of head down the road of pecans and stuff, we have a lot of sweeter notes already. So I needed something spicier and drier to kind of ground my cocktail. Next, speaking to that corn aspect, I grabbed some white corn. I grilled it, then cut off all of the kernels, put that in a bag, and sous vide it with Bullet Bourbon for a few hours until you get this just really rich. I mean, it smells like fresh corn in a way that's sort of unpleasant to taste, but it works well in the cocktail. Post that, I was looking up different types of ways to eat corn, and kettle corn trends very highly. Kettle corn trends very highly in Oklahoma. In fact, it has the highest trend rate of any state in the United States. So, and I think that, the more research I started to do, I think that sort of blends into like state hair culture. So I grabbed some kettle corn. I infused Zacapa XO with that, which was fun. But I needed to use something as bold as Zacapa XO to really punch through, because kettle corn is a very pungent flavor in and of itself. So I needed something that was going to be able to stand up to that flavor and still have a backbone even once I infused all of that. So going back to the state meal, I created a strawberry Angostura bitters, which I think pairs really nicely here. Grounding all of these flavors together, I used a homemade mace tincture made with overproof dark rum. This is a brown sugar pecan, toasted pecan syrup. So I roasted pecans and then sous vide them with brown sugar and water until you just have this really aromatic and lovely little syrup. And then just a skosh of this is nocino. we are making 2 cocktails here. I'm just going to go back and add enough to fill up both glasses. Next, we're going to put this into the glass and combine it with a little bit of Coca-Cola. Coming back into, so one thing that I noticed is that even though people weren't drinking alcohol, people are still buying drinks, right? Just because you're not drinking alcohol, you're probably still drinking something else. And I looked up those trends, and of course that panned out. They are the 4th largest consumer of soft beverages in the United States. So that made sense to me. I'm going to stir that salt in and make sure that it's some nice salinity there. Light is tricky. Add a little bit of Mexican cola to this. It works okay with regular cola, but just, whenever you can do Mexican cola, is nice. Add a nice little spear cube to this. Why not? There you are. What I want to emphasize about this cocktail and my method behind it is that this cocktail is not the final frontier of cocktails. This cocktail is merely using a method that I really think is the final frontier of cocktails, and that is understanding data, using it, utilizing it, and then disseminating it amongst our fellow bartenders. I think what has really set us apart in the craft cocktail revolution and why we've been able to grow so quickly is that we've been able to share our information with each other, and the more we're able to do that, the better we'll all get. Cheers.
That's All right, guys. Well, thank you all. The competitors are going to go on a trip to the Bullet Distillery at 5 o'clock. I do believe that the brands have now started their activations outside for people that are here in friends and family.
There's like a ton of this. Do y'all want a snack?
I do.
Kick off at 7 o'clock, so that's 3 hours from now. If you need anything, please let us know. Please continue to drink water. Thanks, everybody. Oh, man. No. Well, no, sort of.